Hello everyone, thank you for joining. My name is Paul Baylog. I am a software architect for NISC out in Lake St. Louis, and we're always hiring, by the way. This is going to be my little story straight from the cloud now about creating web apps using Go that I was just on a project here recently, so I thought I'd go ahead and share all the excitement and fun that I've been having. And let's see, there we go. Okay, and as normal, I know everybody, the regulars are probably getting sick of my disclaimers, but again, I'm not here to persuade you to use anything or specific paradigm or products or whatever. I'm just interested in the stuff and like to share. But yeah, so Act 1. So we have this application that we have at NISC. It's we call it Weatherman, but it is an application that we use kind of to monitor our systems. So now, if you're not familiar with NISC, we are a cooperative software company, but we're sort of kind of like a cloud provider to electric cooperatives and telecoms and broadband providers and a lot of municipal utilities. But it's all in the utility space of that sort. So we have well over 1,000 members, as we call them. They're not really, we don't call them customers, we call them members in the cooperative world, because we're really not about making a profit, beyond a margin just to operate. We give all that money back in patronage that we make beyond that. But anyway, so we have this application that's been around, I don't know, the first commit that we had in Git was from 2014, but I think that was only because that was when we switched it over from a Subversion repository. So it's predated that even, and that's why it was written in Perl, and it's CGI, just a little web application so that we could go in there and then monitor and view the status of all these different services that we have on these well over 1,000 different member sites. And then it would have probes that would go and ping and do different things. Verify SSL was, correctly set up, that we didn't have expired certificates. I mean, now we have nice things like Cert Manager and things. So, an expired certificate shouldn't be, happening too awful much. But so anyway, this is a little bit of an old application, and then we wanted to migrate it up to AWS and then an Aurora Global Database. So this gave me the perfect opportunity to do a proof of concept. Now I'm traditionally a back-end developer, and then Java shop. We're primarily Java at NISC, but I've been really pushing for Go. I don't know why. It's just kind of cool and performant. I got to say that. I got to throw that in there because everybody knows. Every time I say Go, they say performant, and I'm doing my job. But yeah, so this application's been running, and it was perfect opportunity to do proof of concept. So now, the way it is right now, it's multiple pieces. So I wanted to take all these different pieces, the 3 listed here, and then combine them into a single binary that could be deployed. And then that would provide both the application server, so you could run it from your terminal and then just start up a web server that's going to connect to the remote database, and then you can sit there and see the status of everything. And it was going to actually also control those probes, and then also there's some just kind of synchronization things that we run via cron to just update and make sure that we have from other systems, we have all the same things mapped together. So that was what the goal is. And the why is, again, nobody's writing Perl at NISC. This is probably the only thing that's available in Perl. I was kind of shocked when I saw that it was Perl. I was expecting PHP. Yeah. And then I wanted to explore the viability of us expanding on the Go development at NISC. Because we have several, well, not several, I mean, we've got 300 developers-ish, but we've got quite a few that are interested in Go, at least. They're not attending these meetups, though. You know, I try, I really do. Yeah, so maybe one of these days. But we might have to have it out, Larry, out in Lake St. Louis. On a night where we have a social and then there's adult beverages being served as well. But anyway, so this is all, it's a non-customer facing or non-member facing application, so very low risk. So if I really screw the pooch on this and just mess it all up, no big deal, no harm, no foul. So it's a good, very good for a proof of concept. So the brave new world. So I started digging in, started, using the interwebs. No chat GPT involved in this. But, I was searching around and in, some of these different projects came up that I really was interested in. Air is just for live reload. It just provides functionality like folks using Node and that have been used to, and Ruby, I guess, for already quite a while, where you can sit there and keep just coding away and it's going to automatically update. And in Temple, Go's standard templating is not pretty. So I don't know how many people have used that before, but it's not great. So Temple is out there, which is a much nicer product for doing your HTML. And you'll hear some of the things later on. But and then another thing I wanted to try out was HTMX, because I heard all the hype and it sounds awesome to me. And actually, let's see, I see our benefactor here is, oh, okay, no. Whoops. All right. Sorry, so HTMX. So yeah, so there's a lot of buzz going on around HTMX, right? And then basically for non-front end people to be able to make nice front ends. That's the goal of it. And with a very lightweight JavaScript. Nobody wants to be a JavaScript developer, or do they? I don't. I'm getting too old for that. I can't learn too awful many things. And then I started digging into HTTP routers. And then came across Chi. I'm not sure what the pronunciation is supposed to be for that. So I started doing that one, and then I didn't want to do ORMs. Now, in the past, I've played around with GORM, if you're familiar with that in Go. It does make some things nice, but I've heard if you start getting into a complex scenario, it's really more of a hindrance than it is a help. So if you keep it very simple, yeah, sure, GORM, why not? But yeah, so I was just going to do straight out regular SQL management myself. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the code. Now, unfortunately, I cannot show you the code. It's can't show you the our proprietary knowledge. But what I can do is I can show you the WeSVC Gorilla project. So I did take some of my learnings from what I did from this work job, and then I applied them into this open source project that I've created a while back, and I've presented on before as well, where showing REST APIs and kind of a thing where I want to do like to do MVC, where I could do different backends, implement the exact same API in multiple languages, frameworks, whatever, what have you. And in that way, then you can kind of compare and contrast. So, and yeah, and contributions are welcome. I really want to have a Ruby one set up. So if anybody's interested in Ruby, that'll give you an idea of what the specs are. But so definitely check it out. So now we're going to go ahead and the first thing that I was doing was setting up Air. And in Air is very straightforward. You need it to breathe, right? But no, it's standard install using Go-Git. And then you just go into run the command, and it'll give you a standard temp or config file, and then you can make changes from there. And then honestly, there's not many changes you have to do other than telling it what binary to run, which is what you're building from your application. Now, because I'm a Make fan, as all Go developers should be, I had the make file, and then I created a special target just to start that up, because there are some command line switches that you want to add to it just to make things a little bit easier to work with. Now here, I did put these into a branch. I haven't merged them into main, but with that hashtag there, you can see the commit that's just specifically for air. Yeah, so I was trying to do branches and then build off of them each nicely. And then of course, then I would be like, oh wait, I needed this in the other branch. So I was going through all kinds of stuff where I was going, okay, let me switch back to the old branch and then, commit that. And then, okay, now let me switch back and rebase. And because rebasing is the path to enlightenment always. But yeah, so looks like I got this kind of in a state. All right, so we're just going to do this. I apologize. It's maybe one of my other branches are better. But this is just for air. The air setup is, again, super simple. And it's just going to be this TOML file. And then it's just going to give the basic information. So just, to tell where my build output, my build artifact is going to go. So this is the -O option. So yeah, if we see here on the command. And then because I have this migrate step, so when this starts up, I have one of the directories for the application is my test data, so I load all the SQL scripts into the database before it starts up. So that way then I have some data seeded in this guy. So, but yeah, so that's all that's going on there is I'm doing that command to build and then run the migration. And then that's it. Now, unfortunately, because the branch is messed up, I won't be able to run it at this point, but I'm going to switch over to hopefully
How much of that stuff did you have to change? Is it just a couple lines?
Yeah, it was. So at this point, this is just to use air with Go. So all I did was I changed the bin. So that just tells it what binary, because my build will build the WeSVC binary, and then the command here. So that's what it'll run. So let's see. I think that was the only thing I added. So it's already kind of set up for development in Go. So it'll skip your test.go. And what's going on is what it does is when it's running, it has a file watcher that's going to sit there and then read from your working directory. So then whenever you save a change to any of your source files, it'll see that change and it'll immediately compile it and then rerun your new binary. And then if it's a browser-based app, it's kind of cool because you can have immediately just refreshing. So you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to do a hard refresh on the website. It's just going to sit there and do that now. And then I spoke a little bit too soon because Temple is the one that's going to be doing that for us. But yeah, Air, it'll just sit there and then it'll keep running. So like in my case, this WeSVC has a REST API. So you can sit there and make changes and it'll immediately update and you don't have to worry about doing anything. And it's incredibly nice for your development, just your feedback loop, very quick. So, because this is one of the things with me having to try to promote Go development, that's, from all these Java folks, they're like, oh, you got to sit there and you got to do this extra compile step and all that stuff to make a binary. And, it's like, so horrible. But no, this Air takes really the steam out of that argument completely. So that's what I was really kind of going for with some of this stuff is I want to make it so that it's so fundamentally easy to work with that people won't have any complaints about, learning a new language or starting to mess with it. But yeah, so the hot reload, and then again, the init will fill out all this stuff, and then, like I said, I think it was just at this point, it was just those 2 lines. So then the next piece is Temple. So this is our templating engine for for the HTML. For all the web pages are going to be rendered with Temple. And again, this is if you go to the repository, that commit hash there, that'll give you all the changes related to Temple. Now that one's going to be a significantly larger change because this includes all my partials and things like that for the actual website. So you would see that. But again, oh damn, and I knew I was going to do that. The copy paste inheritance, yeah, error in it. It's yeah, that's a lie. So Temple is not going to configure that way. But I did go ahead. It does install using the Go-Git. There is a command line tool, Temple, which is, we'll see here in a moment, that's running. And then I tagged it into the make develop. And let's see, let me switch over to the browser again. So yeah, so if we look here, this is that the target that I added. So here, just to make it even again more simple, you just do make develop. If you don't have it installed, it's going to install it. That's just the way I kind of, again, I wanted to make it simple for any of our developers to be able to do this. And then you'll notice here that we have this Temple generate, okay? And that's going to actually take the Temple templates and it's going to actually translate them into Go files. But yeah, so these are my templates. So now again, if you're familiar with the regular templating engine with Go, nothing at all like that. It's very simple. Let's see, where's some of the tags? Unfortunately, it's not color coded, but here you'll see that this calls out to another method that I have defined here for my nav bar. And then I'm pulling in things like, Bootstrap. And then later on, it'll be HTMX. But yeah, bringing all that in. And so yeah, so you'll just intermingle HTML and then your Go syntax. Now, not everything is going to be allowed in the template, but it looks for things like conditionals and the looping structures, obviously. And then for any inline replacements, you'll use the curly braces there. So I'm just doing, again, this is the object being passed in here. I get this slice of places, and then that's just iterating through the slice, and then it's sitting there and populating this stuff. And then again, this will go and create an actual Go file. Okay, well, I cannot show you one of the compiled ones because I have it in the git ignore. So, because those templates, every time we start up, and then we're going to run that, if you recall from the make file, it was doing the Temple generate command. So that's going to, again, transform these Temple files, and then it'll make a Go file. But yeah, so this is actually creating a watcher. So just like with air, it's going to be sitting there and then looking for changes to the Temple files. And then it'll recompile those. It'll regenerate the Go code and then write those out. And then air will see that the Go code's changed. And then it will recompile the binary and then everything's. It's kind of a shaky bridge, honestly. Sometimes you'll see that they don't want to play nicely together, but I really wanted the Temple generator to watch because this is what's really cool here too, is that it has this proxy. So because this is a web app, I'm actually starting the application is going to be starting on port 9092, if you notice that there. Well, what this is going to do is Temple is going to create a watcher that's going to be on another port 7331 that will sit there and then keep refreshing the browser whenever there's a change. So that's what really makes that development loop the feedback loop really quick. And again, here's that the air configuration. So now I'm sending it a special configuration file so that it uses the Postgres database rather than my default. I have a SQLite, and then I'm explicitly telling it to use 9092. But let's see. Let me go ahead. I'm going to fire this up. Okay. Okay. So now what you can't see is that I actually have a little console here with my log output from the server binary, as well as the build results and everything. So I'm seeing that that happened. Now I can go into any of those temple files, and then if I make a change, now this is, again, this is the proxied the service. So I'm just going to make a change real quick to one of the files, and then you will just have to take my word that I did not do anything extra. All right, so now I'm going to save it, and then, yeah, you'll see that my extra welcome is right there. So imagine that. I mean, so I'm sitting there, I'm able to have my IDE on my nice widescreen right there on the left side. I got the browser on the right side. I'm sitting there just coding away like crazy, like a madman, and then all my changes are immediately reflected there. You know, of course, when something doesn't compile, then, you know, it's it'll be a little different, but I can fix it. And then as soon as I fix it, that's updating right away again. So it's really, really nice. And I mean, you know, again, this isn't anything new. A lot of Node developers have had this, and I don't know what other language is. I mean, all the cool kids are doing it. But yeah, so here, let's see. And then now what I did was I have all these different layouts for my conditions here. And so now, so I created this, and again, with the this microservice, it's just a little fun little thing. You have places in the database, and then see all the lat longs. You can even go and, you know, take a look and find it on Google Maps. So there's no search, nothing like that is going on yet. So, but this is, again, nice, quick iterations. You're able to throw together something really fast and quite nicely. It was, honestly, it was really refreshing how quickly I was able to get through this stuff and accomplish it, because, again, I am not a front-end developer. You know, I had a whole window open with Bootstrap and trying to look up, oh yeah, how do you do this? How do you do this? And all the styles and that. I'm not, you know, I'm so old school that I still feel that tables are perfect for layout. All right, so the next piece now, we've got that where we've got the quick feedback loop on just the standard old HTML development. You know, everything's building real quick, coming around. Well, now, you know, I wanted to do HTMX. So, you know, again, this is a minimal JavaScript thing, because again, I'm not a front-end developer, and I never really messed with Node, you know, so I'm not well versed in JavaScript, and frankly I'm too old. I don't want to learn that. I'd rather learn something that's fun to me, which Go and its ecosystem is. So, and again, of course, you know, the Prime agent says it's cool, so it's cool. He's got enough followers where, yeah, he's right. And it is. And again, as with the other two phases, that commit hash will get you to the exact commit that has all the details for what I added into the application to bring forth the functionality that we'll see here in just a moment. So now in this case, I've gone ahead and I've added in HTMX. Now, like it said on there, I don't know, it was like 48K on my machine, but a gzipped from their documentation says it's like 14K download. And that's the only thing that you need. There's no dependencies beyond that. You know, Bootstrap was so much bigger. Anyway, but yeah, so it's a very lightweight thing. It's going to give you all kinds of functionality, which we'll see here now. But now we'll see this is going to be all HTMX, okay? So now with HTMX, what it's going to do is it's going to make an AJAX call. So it's going to go to your back end, and then it's going to return, instead of, you know, like how we're now used to usually like JSON payloads and things, it's going to actually return back a partial of HTML that it's going to actually insert into, well, you can tell it where to insert, but usually it's going to replace the actual command or the attribute, the XML attribute, the HTML attribute, sorry, that called it. So it's going to replace it and override itself. But anyway, I can show some of this fun stuff. So here I can start doing this, this live search. So it's actually going to the back end to keep doing queries to go ahead and implement the search. And then the nice, again, I'm not a JavaScript guy, so I didn't do any of this stuff with React or Angular or any of that stuff. I can come in here and then go edit Mount Rushmore. And then, well, I can cancel or not. Blah. Come back out. Oops. I should have made the default page places. But yeah. Now, of course, you'll see that I can see that I'm not actually sorting this stuff. It's just the natural sort order. So it's got put down here at the bottom. But anyway, so again, this is all the HTMX going on. I'll delete something from the middle. Moscone Center. I haven't been there in a while. But yeah, so all the nice little CRUD operations. Yes?
So it's Temple in here too?
Yes. Yeah, so the page is still rendered by Temple. So it was those templates. But now it just didn't have any of that nice interactivity before. It was just a regular HTML and no JavaScript, nothing like that. Just doing the full page refreshes and that. But yeah, so now with the HTMX, I'm adding in all that, the niceness, the fun things to make it really a nice usable interface. And then adding in the CRUD operations and the filtering, although it's, I guess, RUD operations. I didn't do the create. I got a little tired. It was one of those things where it's like, you can't sleep at night, and then it's like wake up at 3 in the morning, and then it's like, I can't sleep. I'm going to code something, and yeah, that's so it is really good stuff. And then let me show you one of the templates where I'm actually adding that in. So let's see. So again, I restructured all this, trying to be a little bit more friendly as far as the packaging of this stuff. So now if we look at place and make sure to, I'm on the correct branch. So, so first, I guess, in layout, so here I added in the minimum JavaScript library there. And then I did add in, there was one thing that I had to add in a little CSS for the, it was for the delete, because it did the nice little fade out and stuff like that. Just kind of a little syntactic sugar essentially, but yeah, so that's on there. So that's all I did to include that. And then now if we look at the places temp, we'll see here that we've got this input here. So this is the way that you hook in all this JavaScript, magic. You just add attributes to existing HTML elements. So in this case, it's going to do the HTMX post on the submit of this input, and it's going to go do a post against the search. So this one's obviously the search, and it's going to be triggered by an input change, and then it'll give a delay, and then I forgot why the extra search on there. I'm not sure. I don't remember what exactly that was, why it said that one was needed. But anyway, and in here, because if you recall, I mentioned it, I kind of alluded to it earlier, because it returns HTML, that's what it expects to return. It's going to replace everything in the control that it called from. So in this case, had I not specified a separate target, the results from that search would have replaced this input element. So yeah, when I was originally kind of messing around with this stuff, it really kind of threw me for a loop, because all of a sudden, in some places, I would have the nav bar, and then I would have it appear again. And then, you could keep doing that because it's bringing back this whole big chunk. So I had to, that's the thing with HTMX is you kind of had to rethink how you're bringing these things back. You know, you had to try to minimize the amount of HTML that you're bringing back from the server, which is, you know, really ideal what you want to do anyway. And in here, then I can specify the target. And in the indicator is just a little CSS magic again, just to show, you know, it would have the little weight icon. So that's really all I had to do for the search. There was this where, so here I'm telling it, this is the target for the HTML that comes back from the search. And then I'm going to go through using Temple, and then it's going to go and then rewrite all the outputs.
So it's that the ID search results that lines up with your HXX target.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, so you're just doing that CSS selector to just say, okay, yeah, in the body, because I've ID'd it as search results, that's where it's going to come in and it's going to go ahead and replace.
That's what you're saying HTMX replaces what's on the page.
Correct. Yeah. So, and then here, there's other things too where you can, so this is kind of actually, this is two different calls. So the body here is getting replaced by the search results, but then it also triggers the delete. So that's where I have my confirmation where it said, do you really want to do this? And then it calls out their closest TR. So the closest row in the DOM is the target for that delete, and then it'll get rid of that. So I, you know, again, being not really a front-end developer and stuff, it was like, that's pretty quick and painless. And, you know, their examples, they're when you look at them, they're crude. They look crude because it's like, I guess they're back-end developers, so they're not pretty CSS laden, you know, displays, but they're very specific and, you know, easy to follow. So again, I put in this HTMX stuff for the CRUD sans C operations this morning at like 4 a.m. So again, I have no life. Save me. But yeah. Yeah. So you do run into some funny things though, and these are just Go-isms, honestly, with the templates. So like here, the latitude and the longitudes were float values. With the templates, they're not going to want that. They want those to be strings. So I had to do the fumped sprint, or, you know, sprint to go ahead and do the actual correction for that to treat it as a string so that the template could render it okay. And then if you notice here, when generating hrefs, Temple does make you use this URL builder. So it's so you can do safe URLs, basically. It'll handle any kind of escaping characters and things like that for your requests. You know, and then here's where I had that button for the deletion. So here I did the hx delete. So, and that's one of the nice things too, is that with HTMX, you don't have to just do posts and gets. You have all the verbs. So you got delete, you can do patch and all that. But yeah, so the HTMX, I didn't get to use it for work. I just, like I said, I did it this morning at 4 a.m. because it's like, oh my God, I got to do the presentation tonight. I got to get something together. So, but yeah, so I didn't get to use it for work yet, but I did put it together for this. And now, let's go. I really liked it all. I mean, I was super stoked about the whole process, the workflow that I could do with this. And then seriously, I was doing this very quick. This application, I've rewritten it, I guess it's been almost 3 weeks that I rewrote, not WeSVC, but the actual Perl application. You know, but I'm adding things to it that weren't in the original one now. I'm doing things, oh yeah, I gotta have that active search where I was sitting there and then limiting the list. So that wasn't in my original, so I got to add that stuff back in. And there were some other things that I really want to add back in. It's only read only, so I don't have to do all the CRUD things, but some of that other stuff and like an infinite scroll and all that, because that's easily supported with HTMX as well. So anyway, but yeah, so really cool. Yeah, some of the notes. So here's some of the gotchas and some of the weird things that kind of if you don't watch out, it might bite you, or it's like one of those things where it's like you spend an hour looking at something. And it's like, why isn't this working? It's like, oh yeah, I'm missing a paren or whatever, something silly like that. But anyway. In the WeSVC, I always like the Go imports because that just kind of orders my imports so that my local module would be at the bottom. And then, well, there with Temple, it's it's writing your template files into Go. Well, it's doing the imports as well. And then, so it's got a different order. So then if I go run imports, it's going and changing those. And then it's like, back and forth, back and forth. And it's like, so I turned off that just because it was kind of noise. Yeah, occasionally there was confusion between Air and Temple, the watchers. So I don't know if there was at one point where I said I was going to mention it. I got bit by that because I went and tried to compile and it's like, whoa, wait, it's failing. Well, it ends up, I needed to do the generate first. So there was like, I don't know, they got confused. So it's easy to deal with, just remembering to do, oh yeah, it's probably, I just got to regenerate those templates so that the Go files are there, and then everything will compile again probably. So minor thing. There's a Golang plugin. Well, the code assist wasn't always working. So that was kind of a bummer. So I would have to have another window open with my models there so then I could go and, because places was too difficult for me to memorize. But yeah, so I had to sit there and keep looking back and forth for the API. So I got the correct names there, for all the goodness. And then, but yeah, Air, great for sitting there and going back and forth. But if you need the debugger where you got to stop at breakpoints and that, it's not good because it's actually running your compiled binary. But no big deal. You would just, if you came into a problem that you couldn't get over with just a couple print line statements or something, then you could actually start your debugger just on another port and then, figure it out. So just little things that are minor nuisances. Let's see. Yeah, so, all right, so when I did the first iteration on those the pages, I kind of had things structured, which made sense to me for that. Kind of bigger chunks. But then when HTMX comes in, it just wants the very smallest piece that you can return back from the server to do the replacement. You don't want to do like, where I was like, I would have been returning the full layout. So that way then I had I had the infinite thing where it's like navbar, 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 that type of a thing if I would have kept going. So you got to kind of rethink some of that so that you have your handlers on the back end and your views in smaller chunks that are easy to bring back and then just swap out. And it actually, once I came to that realization this morning at 4 a.m., it was all good. So now I'm going to go back to my work one, and then as I bring in HTMX, I'm going to kind of refactor that a bit to break it out a little bit smaller and a little easier to work with HTMX. And then of course, when I was working through that, I have a config file and then also command lines and all that. And then I was like, wow, when I originally did the WeSVC project like 4 years ago, it's like, I guess I really didn't understand Cobra very well and Viper integration because some of the things weren't quite working correctly. And I even contributed to Viper, so I should have known, but I didn't. But anyway, yeah, Cobra and Viper, subject for another talk, but very good projects. They are a little heavyweight, unfortunately. I wish there was something lighter. But yeah, they bring in a lot of dependencies, a lot of transitives, but I don't know. I don't know. It works well. And then of course, yeah, friends don't let friends write Perl. Unless you're writing websites for Counter-Strike stats like I did in 2001. So, but yeah. And then yeah, my overall evaluation of that, between all three of them, definitely a solid A. It's still needs, there's still some little quirks here and there, but they're easy to get over. And then, honestly, just that feedback loop, just to be able to sit there and then just hack away at this stuff and quickly, it was really invigorating, So I'm glad I woke up at 3:30 and got to mess with that. But yeah, and then is creating a web application in my scenario for NISC viable? I definitely think so. Not for every project. It's definitely not for every project. Larger UIs are still going to be better suited with something like a React or Angular, I think. But this is pretty impressive. And for a back-end developer to be able to do something that's cool and not just table driven. It's good stuff. But yeah, and that's all I got. So yeah, questions?
So this is like active server pages for Go.
You know what? So yeah, the first time I saw HTMX, it's like, wow, it's kind of like JSPs, I got to do the Java side. So, but yeah, it did remind me of that a little bit. And yeah, I guess you could kind of say that it is back in the days when Ajax was first coming out. But yeah, but it's you can do some pretty slick stuff and then with relative ease, because it truly was. I mean, I hooked in the HTMX strictly this morning before work. Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I don't know if you've gotten to this point yet or not, but finished Go web apps, a good platform to actually host on. If there's one that's been easy to deploy to and get online, or I've seen like DigitalOcean look like they had a pretty seamless, upload process and stuff. We have a web app that we're about to, push live and stuff. So we're looking at AWS and, what other options
Right.
for stuff out there.
Yeah. Well, for this Go app that I'm planning on doing, and then the question was about deployment for Go apps, something that's easier to deploy to, like a DigitalOcean or something like that. But yeah, my plan for this one is I'm thinking I might do it as ECS. So create a container for it and then deploy it in the ECS, because it is one of these kind of a monitoring thing. I don't want it to be involved with the things that it's monitoring, so that if they go down, then the monitor's gone too. So it's like, yeah, it just makes sense to be separated out. But yeah, so that's, obviously doing some sort of a Docker deployment is one option. But, another thing that I haven't messed around with too much, but it seems to be a growing thing. And I actually did an interview with them at one time. But there's a couple of companies. One is called Railway. They will even do it where it builds from GitHub. It'll pull all that and then build from there and then deploy it and handle it all that way. And then Render is another one. I don't know why they're all R's. I don't know if they're Ruby based or something, maybe. I don't know. Or Rust. Yeah, maybe that. Yeah, let's go with Rust.
It's
But
kind of the DigitalOcean one that we just started looking at options like the other day, but it looked like, you could pull source code from GitHub,
Yeah.
GitLab, or whatever.
Yeah. Because it was pretty slick. Because I have a Render. I'm using that for it's just a Hugo website. So it's just standard or what do you call it? Static HTML files generated, but it does handle the Hugo command even too, to run that to actually generate the HTML that it's going to deploy. So yeah, so there's some cool stuff that's coming out. Hopefully they do well. So market seems to be the market is definitely always trying to go for the easy button, right? Because there's way too many things to try to keep in your mind.
I have some questions. So that was the front end. So what does your back end look like?
Oh.
You've got SQL, you said, because you didn't use Gorm.
Well, so yeah, I didn't use Gorm for my work project, which is under proprietary restrictions. Yeah, no, but for this SVC, I did use Gorm, because yeah, originally when I wrote this, a few years ago, I was kind of just wanting to learn some of this stuff with Go, and then I wanted to create this, like I said, this thing where we would implement the same application in all different languages and frameworks, and just so you could compare. And then I had all these grandiose visions that I was gonna have a cool Grafana dashboard that compares them all, and all the metrics would be there, and you could see which is truly better. So I could make fun of the slower ones, or Was there a hand up too? Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't know if you had a question, but yeah. So if you do go into this again, so the server is going to be all your the API. I did restructure some things. So if you did look at SVC before, I did a lot of refactoring because I wanted to kind of stick to somewhat of an MVC. But all the models are there, and then we'll see that here are my database calls. And again, so this one is using Gorm, which is kind of nice in some cases for some of the wrapping, and does have find first and all that that's there by default. And then my app is the essentially your business layer, the service layer. So again, I tried to keep that all kind of separated out. And then CMD is all the actual Cobra commands. So these I kind of cleaned up.
In the handlers, you actually return the temple files that you create, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Instead of like an HTML
Correct.
file.
Yeah. So what they do is So this is one of the things too, is that I didn't have to do this, but I wanted to do this because I'm deploying this as a binary, and I wanted people to even be able to run I didn't want to have to worry about, you don't have the htdocs directory or whatever. So I actually have all the HTML resources embedded in the binary. So this is like well, not with this one. This one I do have them embedded as well, but the binary that is at work is like 15 meg compiled. So, and then that includes the web server and everything in it.
That's really cool, actually, because it builds the one binary of all your, essentially, what were your...
You just have to worry about your platform, and then, and it's got everything in there. So, I have command line option at serve if they want to do this with the web server, or else probe, they can join the pool of probes and then, take some of that. Oops. And then also there's a sync. Which isn't written yet. Again, it's been around so long, and like I said, they kind of piece things together. It's like a Frankenstein's monster, but so it's all kinds of stuff. There's Java, Python, Bash scripts, of course, and then the Perl. But so these handlers, again, I wanted to, if we look here at the server, so this is kind of the core, in this case, it's Gorilla. The work case I used Chia, I don't know. But anyway, some of the routing can kind of look funky, and these I want to actually move out of the this server Go, because this kind of it's kind of making it a little bit muddy. So I think I want to put all these more of the bindings into the actual handler. So if we look at the handler, all it does is it's handling the request and the writer response here. So this is going, I've got a call to the service. So when I create these things, I'm passing in the app, which is the business layer essentially. And then again, trying not to go directly to the database, the DAO objects, again, I'm working with Java developers. I want to make sure that they feel, good about the way it's set up. So, but yeah. So anyway, I'm getting to the service, and then I'm calling the get places on that one, and then that one in turn will then call on the DAO, which will actually do the database call. So the database calls were, I think I actually showed that one. It's with Gorm. It's not really spectacular to see. And in this might look, you might be like, but Paul, you're not supposed to throw panics. You're not supposed to do panics in Go. It's a bad thing. I mean, it's only when it's like the last resort. But one of the things that's really cool with this particular server implementation here is that they do have a recovery handler. Oh wait, actually, I think I had to do this this middlware method. It was a little bit cleaner in Chai. I think I like Chai better than I do Gorilla, honestly. But anyway, but this will capture any kind of panic. You can throw it up there, and then it'll return a 500 status, and then give you just the very basic error. So and then make sure that we get a printout and stuff. So in this case, yeah, it's a good thing because I'm explicitly going for catching that to return the 500 status. Yes?
Have you thought of just having a routes directory and then having all your different?
Yeah, I mean that's another option. So the question was about having a separate routes directory essentially to kind of keep things a little bit cleaner. Yeah, that's a possibility. And again, this is one where it's like, I guess, I hadn't really messed with it. So with my original API, with the REST version, this is the original one here. I kind of passed in a sub router, and then I let that guy handle all the actual bindings. So if we look in here, and this is like, again, this was like 4 years ago, Paul, in the past. I don't know if I really learned that much more, but give me the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, so this is where it's doing its nasty binding everything together. So yeah, so there's multiple ways to go about it, how to structure it. I don't know if there's any really true good rule of thumb for that, to be honest. I know that Bill Kennedy, who's big in GoBridge, and he's Arden Labs, and you got the training classes on that that you won, but he has a recommended structure, which is like, you would think it was a Java developer as well, because I mean it's lots and lots and lots of directories and that. So yeah, I don't know. Everybody's got their own way to skin it. So, but yeah, but this one worked for me. But like I said, it's one of those things where you're always going to refactor it. It's an ugly baby. There's a better way to do it, I think, to be cleaner and a little bit easier to read.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking so much of like this app, but like a bigger, with a bunch of routes.
Yeah.
Like a person and a
Right.
this and that.
Yeah, because that was like.
Have their own thing.
Exactly. Yeah. For a larger app, yeah, some other way to organize it might be better. But yeah, because that's the same thing like with the HTMX stuff. It's like, oh yeah, the way I originally wrote it it's not the best for using the HTMX how it wants to work. So yeah, with a bigger application, you definitely want to do something otherwise, because otherwise it might be hard to kind of, if you're bouncing all over the place, it might be a little bit hard to understand and read. And that's the biggest customer, is the future developer that's got to maintain it. So, you always want to make sure it's readable. So,
Thank you.
all right. Thanks, everybody. All right, and everybody, thank you. And yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't know. So next time I'm going to have to, like I said, burn some incense or something, because, yeah, I don't know what happened.